Welcome back to Inside City Hall. My first guest tonight entered Congress in 1993. She represents parts of Brooklyn, Manhattan, and Queens, and she's currently the highest-ranking Democrat on the House Small Business Committee. Next month, she is facing a Democratic primary with 3 challengers on the ballot. Here to discuss that and more is Congresswoman Nydia Velazquez. Thank you for being with us. Good to see you.
Thank you for inviting me.
How's it looking out there? You've had a number of challenges before.
Yes, it's looking exciting. Mm-hmm. I've been reaching out to the new part of the district. I've been campaigning, listening, having greet and meet, and it has been quite encouraging.
Let me ask you about something that I know that you get this a lot. Let's show the district, the old district and the new district. And in both cases, you're spanning a number of different boroughs, different counties, right? You've got the Lower East Side over there on one side of the Hudson. The district comes over. You've got Sunset Park. This is the current one. Mm-hmm. It snakes out all the way out to Bushwick. I guess this has often been used by critics as a textbook, or by reformers, frankly, as a textbook example of gerrymandering. What do these neighborhoods have in common?
Besides you. Oh, yeah. No, well, the Lower East Side and Williamsburg, for example, we have environmental issues. We have housing issues, the lack of affordability when it comes to housing. The waterfront, both sides of the river. So there are so many things in common. Mm. We are working hard to tackle issues there is more commonality than there are differences between those communities. Look at Chinatown in the Lower East Side, and look at Chinatown in Sunset Park. Basically, people travel and they work and live in the two communities. Mm-hmm. So there are this bridge of issues that are common to both communities, including Queens.
What are the big issues right now facing your district?
Well, the number one issue is housing. The number one issue is the lack of jobs, and then housing. Mm-hmm. But also we have transportation and infrastructure. And the same is true to so many districts across New York and across the nation. People are asking for jobs. People are saying that we need to improve transportation. We need to improve infrastructure. Roads and bridges are crumbling. And what a better way to rebuild our economy. This is an opportunity to build a lasting economy by reinvesting in infrastructure and transportation, for example.
So you're closing in on 20 years in the United States Congress. You were the ranking Democrat, as we said, on small business services, and you for a while chaired that committee. Mm-hmm. What are the things that you've been able to do to get jobs in the district?
Oh, well, I work with the administration at a time when the economy continues to struggle. And in 2008, for example, we were working on the stimulus package. My legislation was included, part of my legislation and provisions were included to incentivize banks who tightened their standards. So small businesses were facing a lack of credit. Credit was denied, and we decided that we needed to increase access to affordable credit, because after all, small businesses are the ones that create jobs. The problem they were facing, they didn't have the kind of affordable capital that allowed them to expand and grow their businesses. Mm-hmm. So that was included in the stimulus package. I also included provisions to lower the fees that were paid by borrowers and the banks, to incentivize banks. And I increased the loan guarantee of those loans for small businesses, from 75% to 90%. Basically, the federal government was telling the banks, look, make this loan, we're going to take the risk. Mm-hmm. But the default rate among small businesses has been very low compared to other sectors of our economy. Mm-hmm. So it was a great way to put capital into small businesses' hands for them to create jobs and for the banks to be incentivized to do what they were supposed to do, that is to lend to small businesses.
We spoke with one of your challengers the other day, and one of the things that he pointed out was that you have been there for nearly 2 decades, and the implication was that whatever you were going to do for the district has already been accomplished, and it's time to try some new strategies with some new people. What would be your response to that?
Well, you know, Errol, I think that my district and the new part of the district is quite sophisticated. They will have an opportunity, not only all of the candidates, to go before the voters, to share with them their vision, and the voters will have an opportunity to compare what is it that they're proposing with what I'm proposing and what I have done. One thing is clear, they know my record. They know what I've done to improve the life of my constituent, from affordable housing, being the only member who sits on the housing subcommittee. I am the person to go when it comes to NYCHA. You know, the chairman of NYCHA, they come to Washington. If they need a legislative fix into any legislation that we're considering, they come to me. And when we were debating the stimulus package, I took that as an opportunity to increase federal resources for public housing development in our district, for NYCHA. In fact, I had a meeting with Sean Donovan, and I told him this is a great opportunity since under the Bush administration, so much money was cut from public housing development. I say, let's put a package of $5 billion to modernize public housing in this country. Because of my provision, New York City Housing Authority got $438 million in one deal.
Is that, I was going to ask you, in the breadth of your career in Congress, what you are most proud of. That sounds like that might be a contender. What's the legislation that you most want to be associated with?
I am very much proud of the financial, the strategy to combat money laundering and financial crimes that was passed in 1998. It happened under the Clinton administration when the Bank of New York was caught in a scandal with money laundering. Janet Reno and Larry Summers immediately moved to convince members of the House Financial Committee to pass my legislation, because it provided a legislative tool for the federal government to put a comprehensive strategy to combat money laundering and financial crimes. I did it at the time because I was representing part of the district was Jackson Heights, Elmhurst, and Corona, and we were having some issues with money laundering and the drug trade.
Okay.
But beyond that, I am very proud of the fact that for 10 years I was working tirelessly to federalize 21 developments of public housing in New York that was built by the state and the city, but neither government at the state or city level was providing operating subsidies. So when I secure federal funding for federal subsidies, NYCHA was taking money that was supposed to go to federal public housing development to be able to modernize those 21 housing development. And by the way, 10 years I worked on that. Last year, we announced a deal in my district, Rocker Houses, where we secure $55 million every year for this 21 housing development. Where was my opponent as chairman of the housing committee in the city council? Where was he in terms of securing the city government funding to provide for those housing development?
Questions that will be asked in the course of this campaign, including here when we get you all in for a debate, hopefully in the near future.
Sure.
We'll say goodnight for now. Thanks for spending some time with us. We're going to take a short break. Coming up, we'll discuss the nation's battle against obesity with the executive producer of a new HBO documentary on that subject. Later on, after the number of stop and frisks by the NYPD soared at the beginning of this year, we're going to ask the 4 members of our Consultants Corner if it will be a key issue in next year's race for mayor. We're back in a minute.